So I've made the game a window instead of full screen, and I've changed the screen resolution so that I can open up a little notepad for talking notes. By the way, functionality here, the ability to make the game a window and reduce the resolution, very nice. Not every game made in the year 2013 does this. I approve. The window moving to the center of my screen every time I click on the options button, though, and when I tested it out, the fact that, like say if I load a game and then I go back to the main menu, I noticed it changes back to 1920 by 1080p. Although it stays in windowed mode. That was a little aggravating. But just a minor frustration. It fucks with people if they're trying to record, though. Not exactly me so much, but it would for someone who is doing screen capture instead of direct capture. That is completely irrelevant to my talking points. I have the music playing a little bit. You can see the little animation pop up. I needed the music volume down low, though, because I go off on too many tangents, and I need all the brain power I can muster right now. So, final thoughts. Redshirt was a worthwhile purchase. I do not regret the $19.99 US dollars I spent. It was enjoyable to play, despite being an incomplete beta. I liked the game's rich, vibrant humor. You can see on the title screen itself. And the comedy aspect of Redshirt manifests itself in numerous ways. You, of course, have the satirical reference to its namesake, Redshirt, which, for the uninitiated, red shirts are individuals who have a incredible tendency to have bad things happen to them in a science fiction, story. Just to emphasize the horror, the intensity of the situation, instead of, those bad things like death, being captured by the Borg, happening to major characters, unless it's important for it to happen to a major character. But, it's usually not. That's more of like, a major turning point of the story, and all of the minor, non-existent turning points of the stories are all of the bad things happening to red shirts. Along with a plethora of science fiction archetypes and tropes, which you can look up on the internet yourself. There's even a TV tropes page. There's the mellifluous computer voice who guides you along a path of drudgery and doom, where attendance is mandatory. The game has snarky commentary on social media, Facebook, as well as... Now, this phrase is going to be weird, and I recognize it even as I'm about to say it. Hyper-realistic human interactions. Yeah, it still sounds weird. I enjoy simulations, including life simulations, and Redshirt has more flash and sizzle than I'm accustomed to seeing in the genre. All of the windows are so pretty, so colorful, so interactive. And playing a game about Facebook instead of being one of the brainless fools who plays Facebook games, like so many people's moms I know, including my own, that makes me so hip, man. Got my scarf and windbreaker and everything. More seriously, the game is easy to learn and it's simple to play. I am highly intelligent, and I did know a little about the game before I tried it, but I was also distracted by live commentary, and I still turned out okay, right? Never mind the fact that I apparently died. That's an entirely different thing. Redshirt is lighthearted coffee break fare. You can pick it up and drop it at any time with little disconnect. Although I essentially powered through most of the game in 2 sessions that were only separated by like 3.5 hours. You don't spend time staring at spreadsheets in this game and plotting strategy, although I did do a little of that, didn't I, when I attempted to calculate my path to the career tree. Guess old habits die hard. Now, for criticism. Of course, I am sure that plenty of people have exulted about the merits of the game. I have not read... I may have read a few reviews about this. I don't think I read many, I just looked about for basic information about it. Of course, I heard from a courtesy of Positech Games, because I have been interested in Positech Games for the days of Kudo's Rock Legend. Oh, man, that was a long time ago. Ugh. So, criticism. I think the biggest problem facing Redshirt is replayability. As I said earlier, I do not regret my purchase, but $20 for less than 8 hours of gameplay is rough, particularly for a simulation.
But Grimith, what do you mean? You can play the game again. There's a new game button right there. All you have to do is click on it. What are you, dumb?
Why would I click on it? I know I didn't do everything, even in the beta, but I cleared a huge swath of what's there, and the game is so easy to play that I could comb through what I missed with no sweat. Redshirt hooks you with its charm, with the jokes, with the nostalgic references to Apple Kid and Rickenbacker, with the game's focus being on a social media device. But how long does that really last? That didn't even carry me the entire game, and I enjoyed this. This appealed to me, to who I am. It connected with me on the nostalgic level, on the satirical level, you know, on the genre level, because not only am I a fan of science fiction, and many of those other things like Earthbound and System Shock 2, I'm also a fan of simulations, including life simulations, you know. But the charm, the feel, the kick, the bite of the game, it didn't carry me the entire playthrough. And I think that's evident. You know, the animations are amusing, the quotes and the food flavors are entertaining, but you can see in this footage, it's recorded now, it's historical fact, right? Where I stopped pausing so much on those screens, where I just clicked through, where I wanted to get through the turns faster and stopped caring so much. Redshirt is such a featherweight game, but it lacks the substance that I, a veteran of strategy games, and, you know, the heavy business simulations, and gaming in general, cannot find. Assuming this beta version I just played were the whole game, I think I might replay it. Months, maybe even a few years into the future, when I thought I might like to relive the nostalgia of nostalgia. But, now that was a weird phrase too, nostalgia of nostalgia. But then I would realize the game hasn't changed. Of course, the game isn't finished. It is a beta, a game I effectively pre-ordered. Theoretically, we've got 4/10 of content left to see before we have a completed retail version. See? 6/10 plus 4/10 equals 1.0, oh my goodness. That'd definitely be worth another gander, the retail version. What'll change? Hell if I know. All of my comments are, I suppose, in a vacuum, for someone who knew a little about this game beforehand and played through it in a short time span. Hell, I think it's obvious I'm also not a game developer or part of the gaming industry. I'm just a consumer, as I have been for over 2 decades. So, my opinions and attitudes are perhaps, now it's hard to say what a general opinion would be of the typical consumer who would purchase this game, Redshirt. Of course, with Positech Games being the publisher, you'd have, you know, and it being similar to Kudo's series, or the Democracy series, much lighter than the Democracy series, you'd have carryover there, and I, of course, am a consumer of Positech Games, so I imagine those gamers, you know, there'd be some commonalities there. I lost my train of thought. Okay, ignore that. We're getting to the situation where I stopped writing talking points, because I didn't want to give myself that long anyway.
So, Grimith, if you think replayability is the biggest problem, how would you go about fixing it?
And here's where I just relied on myself to come up with shit off the top of my head. Alright. I mentioned, I'm actually going to take off the glasses now. I mentioned Democracy series. You know the sliders with Democracy 2, where when you pick a country, you have the option to customize the country, and you could influence like what oil prices would be, car usage, GDP values, where you could tailor-make your countries to be like easier or harder the gameplay. I think what Redshirt could use to improve replayability is a difficulty slider. What do I mean by that? I mean, maybe have a slider that influences away team missions. If you crank it up to maximum, you could see away team missions once a week, or maybe even twice a week. What this would do is completely destabilize your Spacebook friends list and make it extremely difficult to keep relationships with people because you're not sure who the hell is going to die. And that would have an impact on making the game harder. Alternatively, you could have perhaps the opposite way, with maybe turning away missions off entirely on its easiest setting, or maybe just only one time in the whole game. Going along that vein, I was talking with one of my internet friends, Lethal Feline, who participates in this hobby, and I mentioned to him, I don't know whether it's possible to die in this game, like during away missions, and I assumed the answer was no. And he said, well, that's dumb, Grimith. So maybe add a possibility of perhaps having the player character at threat to die during the away team missions. Perhaps have a random variance that's based on the emotional state of the character, like how sad or happy they are, as well as their physical health. Because even when I was tanking there with minus 100 happiness, I wasn't observing any concrete penalties. Of course, I was only 75% effective instead of 100% effective, but I was still going through things just fine, where, if memory serves, if you plummeted on happiness in Kudos 2, everything went to hell. Your whole life sucked, everything was ruined, you're a terrible person to be around. That was a thing, too. The people I hanged out with didn't seem to care about the fact that I was sad at all. I wasn't a Debbie Downer. I didn't employ my negativity to bring them down with me. I wish, if we're going to go with a hyper-realistic social simulator, come on, that should have a role. That would be something I would do. A way to influence away team missions, perhaps a threat to have the player die. Obviously, this is a pretty lighthearted coffee break simulation game, so that idea might be unrealistic. But I think it's viable, and it's interesting, and it certainly would keep me playing the game to see if I could adequately balance some values enough. Maybe you could even have it based on certain skills. You could have something like skill challenges where on an away team mission, something pops up. How will you handle this? You could have like a few options, like you could pick this option if you have good schmoozing skill, and you could attempt to parlay. I know you're a Redshirt, but, you know, just an example. You're on a away team mission, so attempt to parlay with a given alien type, or if you're great at pandering to authority, you could attempt to mollify the situation, or, you know, if you're good at, like, virtual drones or holograms, you could try to rig something up, stuff like that. Challenges that give you a variety of skills that could make away team missions easier or harder if you fail them, and thus expose you to death. Again, that's me adding complexity to the game, but if I think the primary problem is replayability, then I want to try to fix that, and I think those are good ways to fix that. You can improve replayability by not making these damn digital bastards so annoying to communicate to, and, like, I mentioned this. Like, why didn't you invite me? Because you were busy. But you didn't invite me. Because you were busy. Yeah, I'm sad now because you didn't invite me. You were busy. I'd like to see more actions, and not only that, I'd like to see actions that you could actually invite more people to. I mean, again, I'm going to use Kudos 2 as an example. Like, some of those sports activities you can invite, what, like 7, 8 people to? Like, soccer! Holy shit, everyone get on the damn field! And what, the most you can invite someone, you can have like 4 people at most come with you to an event? So it's you plus 4 others? I lost my train of thought. The social interactions were definitely frustrating in that aspect, and how people got upset even though they were busy. Which, you know, that's realistic too, because I know people who get upset about that in real life. You didn't invite me. I knew you were doing something. They'll be like, you didn't know that I might change my plans, something might fall through. I'm like, I knew you were busy. Come on. Don't fucking get pissy. But then again, you know, it's easy to just make a phone call to someone in real life. Like, hey, are you busy? Nah, yeah, I'm busy. Sorry. And then, you know, go on with it and invite someone else. In this game, you don't have that luxury. You can't phone up someone else. So the limitation is that aspect. Maybe you could, again, this is making the game more complicated, but I do like in Kudos 2 how with the more people you invited, the less sort of like positive relations and aspects that you gained with them. Simply because you had to spend so much time interacting with so many people. But it would be a decent way to balance having a lot of Facebook friends with activities. Because as it stands now, it looked pretty damn hard. Now, their petulance in other aspects, yeah, that's fine. Whatever. They're rather aliens. They're gonna be petulant. We're simulating social media. It's going to happen. But that busy thing, that's stuck in my craw, as it were. That would improve replayability a little. Beyond the replayability aspect, there's of course the host of bugs and quirks that will exist in an incomplete version of the game. I didn't see that many away team missions or get invited to that many events. I think I only got invited to 2. And according to the Tiny Shark, that was not how the game was designed to be. I just got unlucky. And maybe this version has some quirks which prevented me from experiencing the game. Because there was obviously some times where the game was going to send me on a away team mission, and it just looked like I ended up skipping work somehow. So, I can't criticize that, it's a thing. Shit. What else, Grimith? This is what happens whenever you don't make comprehensive notes of everything. Another thing, too, going with the items on the, that you can purchase in the SHOP, the shop. I don't have a problem with the fact that you had to keep repairing them. I would like to see some more convenience with that aspect, maybe a repair all button, or some mouse wheel compatibility. You know, maybe it's just me. I'm a unique instance here. I didn't have mouse wheel compatibility. I couldn't use mine to scroll up and down easily through that list. And I didn't like how, when I repaired one item on that list, it sent me straight up to the top of the list, rather than saving my position. That's something. It's a minor thing. I suppose I'm unsure about a few of the inner bolts and mechanics of the game. Clearly, until the very end there with the commander's assistant position, and that was only because I didn't have enough happiness. I suppose if someone likes you, you don't have to meet any requirement at all, which I guess that's realistic too. That's rather morbid and pessimistic about how society works, but I don't know. I don't exactly know where I was going with that anyway. It was just an observation. So, replayability, I feel, is the biggest problem, simply because the game is so light. it really appeals to casual gamers who are looking for something different and quirky and entertaining. I wouldn't go so far as to say original, but, you know, this rather snarky and, you know, jocular stroll through all these tropes, and you're playing a game that has you essentially interacting with people through a social media, instead of actually interacting with people through social media. That has some bite to it too, and there are certainly going to be people who are willing to purchase the game in exchange for that, who are casual gamers who aren't, you know, intellectuals like I am, who are so heavily invested in a strategic aspect, who want to make games harder and more complex because it will provide greater challenge. And that's something I think Redshirt lacks: challenge. To make it more fun. And that's just a personal opinion in my aspect. You know, the options to be able to mod or influence the game settings so that you can make it harder, maybe make these people even more petulant. Of course, the away team missions themselves, perhaps skill challenges, or ability challenges, maybe interest challenges, hell if I know. I'm just throwing I'm throwing a handful of tacks here at a bulletin board, and I'm seeing what sticks. You don't think I'm using the metaphor properly? Eh, whatever. I think that encompasses the final thoughts. I think the game as it stands is alright, and, you know, definitely stands to be good and a worthwhile purchase upon retail completion. I hesitate to call it great, of course, because I haven't seen what the finished product will be, but also because I'm not sure whether such a light-hearted, simple game, it's a simple simulation, can be... I'm not sure whether that can be great for me as a veteran intellectual gamer. I think replayability is the biggest issue. I think that would be true even for casual gamers as well. But they probably wouldn't blow through it as fast as I would. And just did. So they'd have more time to recover from, I don't know, fatigue. And they would appreciate the cutesiness. That's an improper word. They would appreciate the flavor of the game better. And obviously I'm not a vetted game reviewer because I didn't have organized thoughts and I took forever to get my point across. I still haven't said everything I wanted to say. I think I'm going to shut my long-winded ass up, though. For everyone who enjoyed watching me, I suppose, in retrospect, that's a problem. Well, I may have provided free advertisement or publicity or game review or bug reports about the game. Because it's so lighthearted and casual, then again it is a beta. I just had some concern there flash in my mind briefly about whether my viewers would actually be interested in buying the game for themselves because of what I just said, the fact that the game doesn't have much replayability. But of course, it's not finished. It's going to change. I might record the game again in the future. I'm not sure. I know I wanted to do this. I don't know whether I want to do it again. I don't know when exactly it'll be finished. Because, of course, I am a gamer, and, you know, the game shouldn't be done until it's done. That's fine with me. It took Duke Nukem Forever how long to get done? An extreme example, but you get the point. Certainly, though, I am willing to learn more about this game and keep paying attention to it. I'll keep my eye out on it. And when the game has a retail release, I will delve into it again. I don't know whether I'll record it yet. I might, as a result, because I like to have like this initial discovery of things. I think there's value in that from a criticism perspective. I might keep myself blind to developer logs or lists of bug reports or new features added, so that whenever the retail version of this game, you know, when it's actually become a 1.0, I can hop into the game sort of blind to its completed status again and explore it all over again. I still don't know whether there's actually a completed ending in the game, and I just failed to find it. I you know, extol my virtues of being an intellectual so damn much, and then I'm gonna have like 93 comments on this video like, you're dumb. I'm like, well, we already knew I was dumb, asshats. What more did you want from me? Well, I wanted you to be smart. No, I'm dim-witted. Shut the fuck up. Is there anything more you wanted to babble about? Go ahead and open your heart to YouTube. Anything more, dumbass? So many people like to listen to you. You got anything else? Pertinent to the game or not? I suppose I could just rehash everything. Why not? I know, I enjoyed the experience. I thought it was worthwhile. Kudos to the Tiniest Shark and to Positech Games. Without them, of course, the game would not exist, and I wouldn't have heard about the game. And I would like to see this game finished. I think it's interesting. I think it's a worthwhile purchase. Then again, I'm in a better socioeconomic standing than most. I still thought it was worthwhile. Again, criticism, $20 for less than half that amount of hours of gameplay. It's rough, in my opinion. I don't regret the purchase, but I know people who would find that unacceptable. Just the ability to just replay this game once and have some greater random variance or be able to guarantee that somehow, again, you know, like I said, by being able to make the game harder, would do that. I should totally be a game reviewer, right? That is my future. People will send all of their games to me. I've gotten offers before, but that's neither here nor there. Just like, oh, you need to review all of the games. And I'm like, do you not know how long-winded I am? This is a terrible idea. Like, well, why don't you just type up something? Like, yeah, I could do that. That's great, but you're not getting me. You could type it and then read it. But then... yeah, we're done. Have a good night, everyone. Take a look at Redshirt yourselves. Maybe you can find what I did not, if you have not already done so. Keep an eye on it for me, so that I can receive 17 PMs in the future about it. Check out other Positech games. Send feedback and criticism and thoughts to the Tiniest Shark. Game developers, here I go again. Why not, Grimith? Game developers have difficulty at times, really studying and playing their game in depth, because they're, like, inseparable from the game. Like, I keep using the word like, you know, I know of game developers, I've interacted with one I'm an acquaintance with, who's not particularly good at the game he made. He's just spent so much time coding the game, designing and trying to balance the game and testing it, but the problem is that you can't stress test it because you're not great at your game. So what you need are people to stress test the game. People kind of like me, but only not distracted by live commentary, so they're actually smarter, and they take the time to form their thoughts into more coherent sentences, using the full extent of their lexicons instead of me. And on that note, everyone, I'll see you all next time.